So my very basic P365 now has a comped slide, a Holosun 407K, Wilson Combat XL grip module, and a Streamlight TLR-7 Sub. Let's see how it shoots today. I like it better. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical and episode 2 of the EDC build series. And it's already getting pretty close to where I want it to be. I do have some other things coming, but yeah, this one was a quick one, which is good and bad. I built the gun faster than the amount of time it took to get the holster. So that's a little bit of an issue, but not much of an issue, and I will explain why. But let's talk about this Wilson Combat Grip Module, the Streamlight TLR-7 Sub, and just why I am changing all this from this to this. Make sure you're subscribed, and let's begin. The entire point of this build was to end up with a carry gun that I could still carry and conceal comfortably, but that I felt a lot more confident shooting. And I think we're definitely getting there. About a month ago, I did a video. I was out at the range shooting my SIG P365, the gun that I've carried for a few years now. And I was talking about how I just didn't feel confident enough with it in its micro configuration, especially when compared to most of my other pistols that I feel very confident with. And so I decided that even though this was really easy to conceal, really comfortable to carry, I wanted to carry something that I felt confident with in case I ever had to use it, because your carry gun is probably the most likely firearm that you might ever have to use. And so I decided that it was worth sacrificing a little bit of, tininess, concealability, to have something that is a lot more just confidence inducing when it comes to shooting it. Because there is kind of an inverse relationship between concealability, you want a gun as small as possible to carry, and shootability, where you kind of want a gun as large as possible for it being able to be shot really easily. And so I think I've found a very good balance. Even though it's still got the same fire control unit in it as before, I still want to test it with my carry ammo. This is a Federal HST. So let's see how it does. Reliable as ever. Just to get everyone caught up really quick, this is where we started. Standard P365, the most basic model that you can pretty much get. I changed out the original grip module for the Wilson Combat Grip Module, which made a big difference, and I carried it this way for a long time with the 10-round magazine that has the pinky extension, just so that I could get my pinky on the gun, because that did make a big difference as well. I've been carrying it in a Tier 1 concealed appendix rig, or in a We the People holster, at the 334 clock position for a long time. Depending what I'm wearing, what I'm doing that day, kind of depended on how I carried it. Then I decided it was time to upgrade my EDC. I spend all this time upgrading and customizing all my other guns, so I might as well make the one that I carry, the one again that I'm most likely to ever have to use, into something that I feel confident with and that I really enjoy shooting. And so I actually got a pretty good deal on some parts from a guy that I met at my local gun store. I got the P365XL grip module, which I'm not even going to use, but it came with a couple of magazines and the Comped X macro slide with the barrel, the recoil spring, everything that you need there. for 300 bucks. I thought that was a pretty decent deal, considering I didn't have to go out and buy a P365XL, and I really wanted the Compt X macro slide anyway, which doesn't come with the XL unless you're buying like a Spectre Comp or something. And so I kind of got actually everything that I wanted for about half the price of a new gun. And the X macro slide also has the optics cut where you get to keep your rear sight, which was important to me as well. And so that was last week's video. We went out and we shot the gun with the XL grip module and compared the difference between the standard slide on it and the X macro comped slide. And that's one of the great things about the SIG P365 is the modularity and the fact that you could switch your fire control unit to different frames. You could put different length slides on it very easily and pretty much do it on the fly, and it takes like 1 second. So this week, what we did, well, and also last week, so we did add the optic. This is the Holosun 407K. And the great thing about the P365, again, it's cut for the K footprint, so it's a direct mount. And I already had this optic on my Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. It just recently got the Holosun EPS, so stay tuned for a video on that. Reliability and shootability is the name of the game, along with concealability. But every one of these upgrades makes a difference. The red dot really helps. I love red dots. The comped slide helps. And even the light on the front gives it a little extra weight at the muzzle, which helps to control that recoil. Having already been using the Wilson Combat standard size grip module for a few years, even though I bought the XL grip module with all these other parts, I knew that I was going to get the Wilson Combat XL grip module, and I ordered that basically right away. I also ordered a Streamlight TLR-7 Sub for it. Now, on my original P365 grip module, I had this little light on it, which works, but it's not very powerful. And I really like Streamlight products. I've got TLR-1 HLs on a bunch of my more full-size pistols. And I've only heard good things about the TLR-7 Sub, and they make one specifically to fit the SIG P365 because it has a proprietary rail. It's not like a Picatinny rail or even like a Glock accessory rail. And so I already knew that was the light I was going to get. In fact, this build was really easy because I knew exactly how I wanted it to turn out. And we're just about there right now. So I want to talk about these things. Let's, let's first show the output of this light, because for a small light, it is very, very impressive. And then we're going to go over the grip module and why I chose the Wilson Combat versus any other grip modules on the market, because there are a lot of options. One of the great things, again, about the modularity with the P365 FCU. So I want to show you guys about this light. Now, the TLR-7 Sub is great. It's relatively small, and so it fits these, subcompact firearms very well. And while this does look a lot more full size compared to, the original P365 here, because it is a lot bigger than that, which makes it a lot more shootable, it's still a lot smaller than an actual full-size gun, as you can see there, and especially when it comes to the width. It's a lot thinner, which makes it a lot easier to carry. Whether fortunately or unfortunately, I put this together faster than the amount of time it took to get a holster for it that'll fit the light and the XL slide. So I can't practice from retention today, but I'm definitely feeling more confident in the way that this gun handles. So I've turned off my camera light here for a minute, and I'm going to show you guys what the output of the TLR-7 Sub looks like. It has 500 lumens, very easy to actuate as far as the switches go, and it's got it on your strong side and your weak side, so you can use your trigger finger or your thumb, and it's momentary if you hold it, or it'll stay on if you just click it. And so that is very nice. Now, let's take a look at what this output looks like. Here we go, and you can see that with all the lights off here in the studio, it lights everything up very, very well. This light is very impressive. And so there you go. It's a small light, but it is a mighty light. And that's exactly what I wanted for this build. Now that you've seen the output of the light, how easy it is to use, how small it is, let's take a close look at this grip module, and maybe you'll understand why I chose the Holosun Combat one over other offerings on the market. So here we see the standard P365XL grip module, and compared to the regular P365, it is a lot easier to get a hold of because it's just a longer grip, and so you can get your whole hand on there, and it takes 12 round flush fit magazines instead of 10 round magazines, which gives you a little bit extra capacity as well. But it is lacking in some texture in areas, and it feels very thin. Even with the longer grip, it still just feels very thin. Now, the Holosun Combat Grip module here is not much thicker in reality, but it's just enough to make it feel that much fuller in your hand. And it just feels more solid as far as your master grip goes. And to me, that's a big deal. It makes the gun feel much easier to control. And it also just has really good texture on the front and back strap, which is pretty much the most important part when it comes to your grip and controlling recoil. Also, the areas of the grip module here that don't have any texture, they do on the Holosun Combat Grip module. The other thing is, the texture here and here is much more aggressive than the texture on the sides. And the great thing about that is it makes it so you can get a really, really good grip on the gun, but that when you're carrying it, the side of it, the part that rubs up against like your belly, isn't going to rub your skin raw, which is really nice as well. Now it's got some other great features. So it has the same rail, so your standard lights that are made for SIG P365, as you can see this one is, fit it just fine. Your fire control module goes in there super easily. Fire control unit, excuse me, takes the same 12 round flush fit magazines, but check this out. It's got a really nice flared magwell here, which makes doing reloads much easier than it was on the regular P365. And so all of that combined makes for a lot of benefits over the standard grip module. And one of the other great benefits is that the Holosun Combat Grip module, you can get it for around $60. Now there are some other really nice ones on the market, and I've looked at them and I've held them, but they're a lot more expensive than $60. And a lot of them are also a lot wider. My local gun store had one, I can't remember the brand right now. It felt fantastic in your hand, and it looked really good too, but it was as wide or maybe wider than a full-size gun. In fact, probably wider. And so that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a slimline carry gun. Now, I'm sure that for shooting it, it makes a big difference, but I'm trying to find that perfect, spot where it's shootable but also concealable. And so I want to keep it narrow because that's the big advantage to carrying something like a P365. So now with all of these upgrades so far, we've still got a gun that is nice and thin, relatively small and easy to carry still, also easy to conceal, but it's got all of the benefits of, you know, my larger pistols, where I've got a good light now, I've got an optic on it, and I've got a grip that just instills confidence when shooting. Also a longer slide that is integrally comped, which, you know, forces gases upward and helps to control muzzle flip and perceived recoil. And so we've got a gun that is much, much more shootable than the original P365 that it, you know, came as in its original configuration, but a gun that's still relatively easy to carry and conceal. And in next week's episode, I will show about that. We'll go out to the range and do some shooting from, you know, retention. I have 2 holsters on the way, another tier 1 concealed, but one that is meant for the XL with the TLR-7 Sub light on it. And I've also got another We the People IWB holster coming, again, for the XL with the light. Because depending what I'm doing or what I'm wearing, there are times to carry appendix and times to carry strong side. At least for me. Everyone's lifestyle, everyone's way of carrying is whatever works for them. Those 2 options work well for me. So now you can see why I changed things up the way I did. I hope maybe this helps any of you that are not feeling like maybe your EDC is up to the standard that you'd like it to be. It didn't cost me a whole lot of money. I mean, it cost me some money, or a whole lot of time or effort to make this from a very basic SIG P365 into something that I feel really confident with. And that's the whole point. Now we do have more things coming. A couple of holsters, a trigger, and so the build series is not over yet. This is gonna get even better, but it is almost there. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments, what do you carry and how do you feel about it? Do you feel confident with your carry gun, or do you feel like it needs a little bit of a change up? Let me know, because that's how I started feeling, and so I did something about it. And that's the great thing about firearms, is that you can customize them, you can modify them, you can do anything you want to them. Especially the SIG P365 and also the P320 series, where you can pull the fire control unit out and basically make it whatever you want. And I think that that is really cool. I'm glad I finally took advantage of that feature, because it's huge. In fact, I've been taking advantage of it daily lately, because right now I don't have a holster that fits it in this configuration. And so all I do is I pop this slide off, put the standard slide back on, pull the light off, and then it fits all of my current holsters. So I can still carry the gun right now until I get my new holsters in. And then once I get the new holsters, then I'll be able to carry it in the configuration that I want to carry it in, which is very cool. So let me know what you guys think. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.